Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruch.com.
The mitzvah of Shemiras Eiynayim and the prohibition against looking at a woman for the sake of pleasure purposes. So it's recorded in Shulchan Aruch, Even HaEzer, in the Mechaber, chapter 21, halacha 1, that it is forbidden to stare at the beauty of an erva. An erva includes any one of the women listed in the Torah as a forbidden relative, or a woman who is married, or a woman who has reached the age of menstruation and has not toiveled in a mikveh. This prohibition applies even to one's wife when she is a nida, as explained in Shulchan Aruch Yeridea, chapter 195. What is the source of this prohibition, and is it biblical or rabbinical, and what does it extend to? So regarding whether it's a biblical prohibition to look at a woman for the sake of pleasure or a rabbinical prohibition, the Ramban, recorded in Beis Shmuel 21:2, rules that it is only a rabbinical prohibition to stare at an erva for pleasure purposes. However, the vast majority of Rishonim and Poskim all rule that this is a biblical prohibition, as it is included in the warning of the verse, Leisasuru achri levavchem ve'achri einaychem, you shall not stray after your hearts and after your eyes. So rules the Ridor, Chas Chaim, Rabbeinu Yoina, the Prisha, the Torah, and so is the final ruling in Shulchan Aruch in the Mechaber 21 halacha 1, that it is a biblical prohibition to look at an erva for pleasure purposes. Furthermore, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, page 28, that one will not stare at a woman even if she is single, meaning even if she's not an erva. And so is ruled in the Mechaber in 21 halacha 3, that from the pasuk of Bris Karisi Le'inayim, we learn that it's forbidden to look at any woman, even if she's not defined as an erva according to halacha, unless she is your wife. Otherwise, it's forbidden to look at any woman for the sake of pleasure. Nonetheless, everyone agrees that in this case, that she's not an erva, it is only rabbinically forbidden based on Divrei Kabbalah and not under the biblical prohibition of Leisasuru achri levavchem. Nonetheless, even here, this is only talking about staring and looking. However, if one entertains forbidden thoughts of a woman, even if she's single and even if she's not an erva, this is a clear biblical prohibition, as writes the Beis Shmuel and Beis Yosef, in the name of Rabbeinu Yoina and the Orchos Chaim, that by having immoral thoughts of any woman, whether an erva or not an erva, one transgresses a biblical negative command of an ishmartim mikol davara. And thus, to summarize halacha l'maaseh, it is a biblical prohibition for one to entertain forbidden thoughts of any woman, other, of course, than one's wife. It is a biblical prohibition to look at the beauty of a woman if she is an erva, such as any girl above the age of menstruation, any girl that is married, or a relative that's forbidden in marriage. And it is a rabbinical prohibition to look at the beauty of a girl even if she's not an erva, which in practical terms this would mean a girl below age 11. She's not an erva in any means, it's still prohibited, at least rabbinically, to look at her for the sake of pleasure. This issur of looking at a woman for the sake of pleasure applies to any part of her body, even to parts that are always uncovered, such as her pinky. To look at it for the sake of receiving pleasure is a biblical prohibition if she is an erva, as we stated. And so rules the Mechaber in Even HaEzer 21:1, based on Rav Sheshes and Shabbos 64b, that one who stares at even the small finger of a woman with intent to benefit from it is considered to have stared at her most intimate area. This prohibition of Shemiras Eiynayim, looking at a woman for the sake of pleasure, applies whether she's a Jew or a Gentile. There is no difference. Regarding the punishments and rewards for keeping and guarding or transgressing and not guarding Shemiras Eiynayim, the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva 4 halacha 4 writes that looking at a woman is one of the sins that is most difficult to do tshuva for, because people think they didn't do any sin at all, they didn't commit any wrong act, they just looked. What's wrong with just looking? But in truth, writes the Rambam, it is a very grave sin and is the opening, the gateway for all matters of immorality. Chazal state in Meseches Sanhedrin 92a that whoever looks at a raya loses his koyach, his strength. The Beis Yosef, in name of Rabbeinu Yoina, explains this to mean that he corrupts and weakens his godly soul and his good inclination and strengthens the Yetzer Hara. The Gemara in Eruvin brings that one who looks at a woman will not be saved from the judgment of Gehenna, even if he has Torah and Maisim Tovim. And in Kabbalah and Shar Gegulim of the Arizal, he writes that one who is accustomed to look at women for the sake of pleasure and does not guard his eyes will be reincarnated into a Re'eh, the sight-seeing bird. The Rebbe Rashab in Kuntras HaAveda page 11, has a very interesting Hasidic discussion regarding the severity of not keeping Shemiras Eiynayim, writing that forbidden sights and glances cause all matters of evil, and that the main feeling of pleasure is found in the sense of sight, and that a sight remains permanently within one's soul, and can erupt into one's conscious mind even much time later. And that if one does not control a sight, it's very difficult to arouse any true feeling of service of God, and therefore one must exert very strong soul powers to overcome it. In the concluding words of the Rebbe Rashab, it is an obligation on every individual to overpower himself and control his sight. Through doing so, he will save his soul from evil, and his service of Hashem will be appeasing and affect salvation within his soul. Regarding the reward for Shemiras Eiynayim, Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Acharmei states that whoever controls his eyes from looking at arayos merits to receive the countenance of the Shechina. This is learned from the pasuk in Yeshayahu, Oitzim Einav Miras Bara, and it then says afterwards, Melech b'yofye sechazen einecha. And the Beis Yosef explains in the name of the Eiynayim that this means to say, whoever abstains from partaking in the pleasure of looking at a woman merits to see and experience the pleasure of Hashem in the future. The Derech Chaim writes that a tikkun for the sin of Shemiras Eiynayim is crying. As one uses his eyes now to express remorse for the sin, it helps refine it and fix the damage that was done. In Mirz Hashem, in our coming classes on this topic, we will discuss a number of questions that come up on the subject of Shemiras Eiynayim, such as, does Shemiras Eiynayim apply from woman to men, or is it only from men to women? What type of look is considered a forbidden look? Is it even a mere glance? What do you do if on your street there are women who don't dress modestly? You're not allowed to go outside. You can't go shopping because there is an immodest woman. What is the definition of the transgression of Shemiras Eiynayim, which is so severe as we explained? When does the Isser begin? What type of look is it referring to? May one look at a woman while he's talking to her, while you're buying something, and there's a woman at the cash register? So on and so forth. In Mirz Hashem, all this we will cover in a future lesson.
Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruchHarav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at ShulchanAruchHarav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.